I accidentally made the best deck ever. So this all started when I was playing some ranked matches and trying to grind my ranking up, slowly reaching Master Ball with this Granatina deck. But I was facing fire decks that somehow always had rare candy, and that caused me to basically play the best, but then they also have all the other cards that they need, and I need to think of very complex battle plans in order to still win.
What we will do is we'll pivot out the Giratina, put in Snorlax, we bury, we get rid of Charmander because that's such a pain to play against.
Yeah, you can sort of see where this is going. I'm playing my ultimate best, and they just evolve the other backline that they have, and then they also have Lily for whatever reason. They have all the cards that they need, right? So this is very frustrating, and all I can do is basically concede and hope for the best in next match.
This match we're definitely gonna win. Telling you now, 100% gonna win. No doubts about it.
Yeah, you can sort of see where this is going, right?
They start with a Charmander. If they have turn 2 Charizard, it's basically over again, right?
And apparently I'm a fortune teller, because they did have turn 2 Charizard. They got their rare candy and they managed to basically easily win by just evolving it, stoking, and that's it.
They also have Infernape? Really? What do I do now? And they Lily, oh my, they have everything they needed.
But, you know, all I could do here is concede, but I didn't give up hope. I thought, okay, next battle might be better, and we faced off against another fire deck. But this time, you know, I had a bit more hope because I had a good starting hand. I had a Giratina, I had a Snorlax, I had Froakie there, I had a Greninja in my hand, I had a Berry.
And a rare candy. Never mind. Hope is gone. Hope is lost. How do I always have a turn 2? How? Like, explain that to me. In no realm at all is it possible to always have it.
Yeah, so this was a horrible experience in the start, and I decided, okay, it's time to switch it up. I can't run this deck anymore, I need to do something else. And I started thinking, okay, what options do I have? And I remember that early on in the season, I tinkered around with a Togekiss deck, and I decided, let's revisit that one and see what we can do. So simply to start with, we have 2 Togepi, 1 Togetic and 2 Togekiss. This forms the basis of this deck, this is where the power lies. We then have Tapu Lele, just one as a supporting one. This basically means they need to KO all 3 of them in order to win, as they're all non-EX cards. Tapu Lele is great though, because it allows you to also hit their bench for just 1 energy, and it also has only 1 retreat cost. Tapu Lele, for example, is especially great against Giratina, where you can basically do 80 damage if they have full energy. So to support this deck, we have 2 Pokeballs of course, and 2 Research like you have in any deck, and of course 2 rare candies to support the evolution towards Togekiss. Togekiss is really good because this gives you the potential with rare candy to hit for 60 damage in turn 2, in your turn 2, and for 120 damage in your turn 3. However, to make this even more crazy, we also have 2 Cynthias. Cynthias will increase the damage output of Togekiss by 50. That means in turn 2 you can hit for 110, and in turn 3 you can hit for 170. 170 is enough to KO most Pokemon that is out there, of course with a few exceptions. Well, we also need to be wary of things KOing Togekiss, and that's why you have 2 capes in there. Cape will bring Togekiss's HP to 160. That means you can survive a hit from Charizard, you can survive a hit from Incineroar, you can survive a hit from, of course, from Giratina with something else, with a Giovanni, and you can even survive a hit from Solgaleo, because we are weak to steel. And on that note, we also of course need a Yono. In case we do not get the cards that we need, Yono is very important here. That allows us to reach off our hands. If we're looking for Cynthia, we can get a Cynthia. If we're looking for a Lily, we can get a Lily. Because that brings to the next card. Of course, we have Lily in here as well to give you that, basically that healing that you need sometimes with this deck. And then last but not least, we have a Sabrina card, and that allows you to sort of control the battlefield if needed. If you just need to get that last KO in, you can always use Sabrina. So that formed the basis of our deck. And I decided, you know what, let's just give this a go in ranked immediately. And what's the worst that can happen, right?
First deck. Let's put a bet on it. If you win this first one with this deck, you have to either subscribe or follow me on Twitch or whatever it is. I think that would be a good deal.
So with that bet in mind, I set out to do the first battle, and I started with my little Togepi, but I had a good starting hand. I had Rare Candy, I had Togekiss, I had Cynthia, I had Research, and we faced off against a very interesting deck. This was running Eevee, which was like his Vaporeon, Palkia, and Manaphy, and I was a bit confused by this deck, because you don't see this deck very often, right, in ranked, especially not in UB4.
Palkia, Vaporeon, and UB4, what a giga shit. Honestly, I'm impressed by them. I don't know where they pulled this from, but I'm impressed with them. Like, you do you, man. Have fun. I mean, to be fair, I'm running Togekiss and UB4 as well, so let's see.
Yeah, so of course I'm also running a strange deck in this section, but I off to a great start. I was able to KO early and also get a second KO using Cynthia, and that got me enough pressure to put on Palkia. Even though they KO'd one of my Togekisses, I got enough time because they lost all their energy to get my second Togekiss up and running as well to KO the Palkia by again using Cynthia. So Cynthia was very important in this match, and they conceded. So this was huge. We got our first win, first battle, first win, which was insane, right? And people actually listened to the bet as well, and they started following me, subscribing me, which if you're watching the video right now, you should also do. So yeah, besides that, I hope this gives me some extra luck, right? Because now we got followers and so on. Well, sometimes of course decks break, and especially against this Garchomp matchup, they had all the cards that they needed, and I didn't get a single Togepi even. But this gave me an idea. I want to beat all the meta decks using this deck. So I identified 5 core meta decks. First one of course being Giratina, second we have the Decidueye, third being Garchomp, fourth Arceus with Crobat for example, and the last big boss of course is that tier 2 Fire. So in the next match we face our first meta deck. Yeah, not Oricorio of course, but it's actually of course Oricorio Giratina. So in this matchup we had a great start. We had both Togepis, we had Tapu Lele, we had Togekiss in our hand, we had the research, we had a Cynthia, and the research gave us the candy and the lily. We had all the cards that we need, all the puzzle pieces. And this allowed us to put on perfect early pressure by KOing the Oricorio, getting our first point in, and also setting us up for a huge 120 damage next turn, which we did against their Froakie, giving us our second point, and then they thought they were smart by putting in the Giratina, saying haha you can't KO me, but that's where Cynthia comes in clutch, allowing us to KO this big huge beast being Giratina and getting our second win with this deck. And I was pleasantly surprised, right? Immediately we beat our first meta deck, so first boss has been slain. But of course, you need to be lucky to get against right bosses, and the next match actually we faced again against a Giratina deck. So I had to prove myself again, can I do the same thing? And even though this match seemed to go well, this was actually a slightly trickier match because we didn't get all the cards that we needed until a bit later, but we got very lucky here by getting that rare candy that we really need here, otherwise we would have lost. And that allowed us to KO the first Giratina, and then they played smart by
Mars, no! That's what I mean. It's stupid Mars.
Yeah, you can see my hatred for Mars, right? But they were stupid. They didn't pivot.
Is he not pivoting? He should. He's not pivoting. Why not? He threw the game. He forgot how Togekiss works. Is he an idiot? He's an idiot.
I mean, to be fair, I got the lilies. I would have won anyways. But still, they should have pivoted here. So we got our second win, maybe due to a little bit of stupidness. But that's when I realized about this deck that something else was very special when I was playing this. Something else besides.
It's doing well, right? But the best part about this deck, the best part by far about this deck, is the luck that comes with it somehow. We are playing against shitty opponents, we're playing in shitty decks, we're getting the cards that we want at the right time. I don't know, something about this deck gives me extra luck.
And that luck basically continued, because in the next match we faced off against a tier 2 grass deck with the Decidueye. And they were using communications, they used Cry for Help twice, and they didn't get a single card to evolve. And that allowed me to put on some nice early pressure again by using Togekiss, getting our first point in, and they still couldn't evolve, so I could use Sabrina to KO their almost Decidueye, and they decided to concede because they didn't get a single card. So again, very lucky, but sometimes you need luck. Luck is also an important part of deck building. So second boss has been slain. And again, similar fashion, I need to prove this again, right? Can I beat this boss again and again and again? So actually in the next match, I faced off against another grass deck. And in this case, they were running the same thing, right? They started with a Rowlet, and we only had a little Togepi. But the same thing happened. They kept crying for help, they kept using Yono or whatever, but they couldn't get their evolutions in. And that allowed me to benefit off, and yeah, you can see what happened here.
They don't evolve. Oh wow, okay. And they concede huge? Okay, we'll take another win. A nice little 4-win streak.
So yeah, we're off to a 4-win streak, but then we faced our hardest match yet, being Garchomp. So Garchomp is a very scary deck, but we are off to a good start. We got our rare candy, we have our Togekiss, we have our Cynthia, we have all the cards that we need, but Garchomp is strong, right? They can use linear attack, basically hitting anything, and they KO back Togepi.
The egg got cracked completely in half. Okay. I could have evolved it now. Sad.
So even though little poor Togepi died, I still managed to KO their Garchomp. The Rampardos came in. They of course used Head Smash to KO my Tapu Lele, but of course I had a Cynthia in my hand. So at the end I was able to use it and put the energy on and hit for exactly 110, but they concede before I can get the last hit in, which is a little bit annoying, but you know, it's fair. And we got our win. We got a win against Garchomp, so another boss has been slain. So we now 3 bosses in, there's 2 left, being Arceus and the Tier 2 Fire, but the Arceus one proved to be very elusive. I couldn't find it. So first we played against another Giratina deck, where Tapu Lele came in clutch, allowing us to KO their Giratina, and in the end we were winning again.
They concede, another win. We did it. Very hard match indeed, but we did do it. New Togekiss meta is here.
And after this we finally found the Arceus deck, of course running with Carnivine and a very scary Crobat. And that combination is really insane because it allows you to do a lot of residual damage before even relying on Arceus. But we had a good start, but they were candied into Crobat, so I got a little bit worried, a little bit scared here. Like, oh no, they can easily KO us now. But they didn't have Arceus yet. And have you ever seen that? Well, I had never, so I was very surprised. And I got my Togekiss up and running. I even had another rare candy for my other one. I managed to KO this Carnivine, and surprisingly,
I've never seen this deck not have Arceus turn 1. So again, this deck has given me luck where I've never had it before. If they don't, it's the worst, yes. And they concede another win, 7 win streak.
So this deck again proves not just to be good, but also to be extremely lucky. So we managed to KO our fourth enemy, which is Arceus. So Arceus goes down, and now I just have 1 left, being the Tier 2 Fire. But before we get to the point, I faced a few other decks in the meantime. I faced this Magnezone Oricorio deck, which didn't prove to be too scary because again I don't have EX cards, so Oricorio doesn't scare me. I then play against another Garchomp deck where I got a huge Cynthia KO on the Garchomp, and then we beat it. And then we finally face the Fire deck. And this is the mother of all matches, right? And we got some extra boost, some extra luck from Raidoken by subscribing, which is huge. And this proved to be very important. So we were off to a little rough start, but
I need a rare candy now. I need a rare candy now. And even if I get a rare candy, I lose, I just realized. Because they have Incineroar. No, I have Cynthia. I need rare candy and I win. That was a creepy laugh. I'm sorry, but this was just too funny. We got our revenge. We got our revenge against those stupid Fire decks. Oh wow. Oh wow. All thanks to you subscribing, Raidoken. You gave me the luck that I needed. That was funny. This is just pure comedy. This is pure comedy.
So with that we were able to defeat the last boss, the Tier 2 Fire, who stopped me so much in the beginning, and we finally managed to win. And that was huge. And we got to a 10 win streak, and that is insane for this deck, right? So we were super lucky. Of course, maybe it's part of the deck, maybe I am just good lucky, or maybe when switching up decks you get more lucky, I don't know. But I had a lot of fun. You should definitely try out this deck. And subscribe if you want to see more, and of course stay around for the streams as well, because you can see insane things happen like this. See ya!